Hello, world. This is Holly for 7H and our weekly 7H English Conversation Hangout. And I'm hoping that several members of 7H will join me soon. Today's topic is one that may not be cheerful, but our participants usually get us laughing in some way. But the topic for today suggested is poverty. Hello.
Hello, hello.
And what we can do, have done, don't do to try and get rid of some poverty and have less of it in the world. What are the root causes? What do we do to perpetuate it, to ignore it, and so on? And welcome, Yvonne. So hopefully several others will join us here. I don't know if you've scared everyone away or not with your with your comments, but I doubt it. Did you have a chance to look at the article I shared and the graphs?
But I think I can predict it without looking.
Well, yeah, usually we can, right? So some people think of poverty by age, by economic level, um, culture. What else? What do you think of when you think of the main impacts in U.S. or world or your own experience? What are the factors? Some of.
I think that it's very hard to find a few main factors. I think it's very complicated thing, and in general it's very hard to generalize the problem to the whole world, because I think that each place has own problems, own factors. Yeah. So in some places it's corruption. In some places it's I don't know, is it polite to say that or not? But in some places, people just not not created to work. they just
Um,
ignore that.
yeah, polite for
Polite,
pronunciation.
polite, yeah,
Is it impolite to say that? It does sound impolite, but it is, I think, a reality that most people acknowledge that there are just people who, whether it's nature or nurture, there are people who are not able to or not going to be interested in working.
yeah. So they are not donors for society. They are just demanding all these things that it's decrease the overall poverty, not poverty, overall income, right? Overall level.
Yeah, in so many ways, right?
Right.
Where
Because
they live affects their access to resources, their safety, their everyday basic needs, and that just makes everything else
yeah,
escalate for many people. Um, Sometimes the efforts to help make things worse or appear to. And that is what a lot of people say about the situation in the US, where by basic facts, there's no excuse for us to have poverty. And yet, depending on whom you talk to, there are strong pockets of poverty, but also generations now, too many generations that learned from their neighbors, from their parents, from their caregivers, from their teachers, that they're not going anywhere, that there's no way out, that the hell with, excuse me, the heck with the system, and just take advantage wherever you can. It's not worth trying. And that is built into the US culture because of the Welfare Act years ago that was meant to help. My parents would never go on welfare, no matter how hungry we were or poor we were. They would never do it. And it seems to change things once you do, for many people, not everyone.
yeah, I agree. Also, I think that it's not only about nature. It's not only about education. Some people just never, our society is not for them. They just receive everything, and we have the same problem, maybe not with the same scale, I think, because we don't offer too much welfares. We just don't encourage that behavior. But still, encourage or not, we have it, and I think that every country has it.
Yeah, and enough communication and possibility now where it does not need to exist as desperately as it has in some places. But still, it's a difficult to eradicate poverty. I don't know as we ever will, and and it is a life choice for some people.
Yeah, but it's normal, We call it in math, in physics, we call it like system with a broken return. How we call it? When you react, broken reaction, right? Broken back reaction or something like that. I never studied that in English. so, so every systems, when you do something on that, they like uh, signalize back what happened. And if this signal is broken, you just don't know. You're doing something and it's everything is going to hell, right? So it's what we have now exactly.
Ah,
just because just because we got a wrong axiom, and in my opinion, that axiom that every life is so precious that we should sacrifice everything just to save everyone. So okay, we are there because of that.
yeah, hard choices. To be human and have compassion, to be realistic and pragmatic, don't always fit real well together, and people suffer. And choices that people make on should I suffer with them or should I fight my way out and be. It's hard for those who do pull themselves out of a cycle of a broken system and then try to be in both worlds, have a foot in both worlds, is very challenging for many people and part of the refugee experience, part of welfare, part of educational changes where children think they're so much better because they have, hello, because they have graduated from high school, from college, have a degree, so they are supposed to lead a different kind of life. And yet, this is family, this is friends. So, a lot of challenges when poverty levels change. Hello, Raphael. Glad you can join us.
Hello, teacher, again.
Welcome. So, we're talking about the cheerful topic, not of poverty, and what different regions, families, individuals, governments do to help ease poverty or to create situations that increase poverty, and hopefully have some positive stories to share of ideas that have helped people. Uh, so I don't know if you have any comments to add now, but that's what we're trying to talk about. Mm.
Okay, poverty is a worldwide concern since we have a lot of inequality between social classes, and there are a lot of, uh, unfortunately, people. The several countries that suffer with many reasons, which are the cause for lack of wealth. Maybe they don't have opportunity to get a job or to improve their living standards, raise their families, and also there is also the fact of countries which are undergoing wars and conflicts, which mitigates the possibility of improvement of their life conditions. So there are
Yeah,
several causes for
yeah,
poverty.
yeah. Irina is here. Hello. It's wonderful to see you again.
Me too.
Yeah. So we're covering so many of the not so cheerful topic of poverty and all of the different causes individual, group, broad regional poverty issues. And who is accountable? Who is responsible? Should it be the government? Is it better if it is handled by people without expecting somebody to take care of them and to help each other? What works best in anything you've heard or seen? Any ideas you've heard of or times when situations have improved for people, and what do you attribute?
But we know exactly. We can see on America, for instance, if don't go too far away. When America was a prosper country, when there was no welfares, when there was meritocracy, when you work and then you get, right, and then you change these rules, and what we have, okay, we have what we have.
So you think we've changed the rules so you don't have to work?
It's a broken system for me. Exactly how it must be. I don't know how to break it more.
How about how to fix it?
How to fix it? First of all, we need to start this meritocracy. If you get something only if you put something in it. So no welfares at all. No more. Uh, what's the word for that? No more crying about poor people, poor immigrants, and all those things. Okay, just put into society and get back.
And this is where it is easier in some societies than others, or more possible in some societies than others, or depends upon government intervention and the level of it. Yeah, this is what I sense strongly in the US is the very sad decrease in accountability, in personal accountability. I see it everywhere from people in all classes. They just know that they don't have to worry about it. It'll be taken care of somehow because I deserve it. and that is a very prevalent attitude in the US when I see and talk with people where the economy is much worse. The desperation and despair is a stronger factor, I think. It's hard to stay strong when hopelessness is too much of what we see. But when people are given the dignity of the expectation that they can contribute, things do get better. So I agree, but it's not quite snap your fingers and it works.
In my view, on the whole, I believe everyone has this shared responsibility. Both the government and society in general has to be accounted for it because we are responsible for electing the government. At least in most countries, which have a democratic means of government, and we are responsible for electing them, and they are responsible to create policies which holds a better situation to improve people's living standards. Maybe by reducing taxes to increase production for small entrepreneurs, or maybe conceiving incentives to small companies so they can hire more personnel and they would be able to raise the economy on the whole. This might reduce poverty in the maybe not in the short term, but maybe in medium or long term, depending on the situation.
Again, excellent points. Hello, Vasant, you've joined us. So some of these interventions do have beginning effects, and then new elections come along. And in many countries, the election process is another complicating factor for this. But again, I'm hoping to hear some success stories, something you've heard of where any of these ideas have had time to begin to work. And for Ivan, and I have support here with Irina, but women, the role of women is also a change. In some countries in recent years, the power of women, the recognition that getting help to the strong women of society in small villages and small communities can empower everyone. And I have seen and heard and read, listened to people who have seen this work in health issues, in economic issues, in finding food and water and improving sanitary conditions. When the women are ignored, it doesn't work as smoothly. So it's all people that can play a part and should play a part, my opinion.
But we have counterexamples, right? Look at Saudi Arabia. Look at woman role in the economics and on the economics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you said, different stories vary depending on where we're talking about. Ah, there's your little puppy. ah, yeah. So small little micro funding, I didn't spell that right. Little dollars that they get more of if they complete a checklist. So you give some help along with some responsibilities and then report back so you have support. You assign mentors, guides, but you give the responsibility and access to limited funding for people to fail, to succeed, to learn. And I think building it's okay to make some mistakes is important. Financial literacy is huge education in the US. I don't know about everywhere else, but it's just very necessary in the US. I am so often appalled at the stories I hear of what seems to be common sense, but is completely not in the thinking of a lot of people. For example, an example that's often used is Starbucks. You do a little bit of simple math, which scares a lot of people, but a simple math of if you go 4 mornings or 5 mornings or afternoons a week to Starbucks to buy your coffee, if you stop that one activity, how many people you could help and how much more money you'd have yourself. And do you get enough benefit from
But
that
but we
when you
discussed it.
don't
We,
think
we
about
discussed it that once. You know, you are not helping if you economy your money. You are not helping to economics. You know, you just
it?
Starbucks don't have money to pay that workers. You know, everything's starting to stop, and no one just paying your salary at the end. So it's every time when you hear that, just save this money. It doesn't work. Spend money, earn more. That work.
The emphasis on local, not the big franchises, but try
Oh.
and support local economy.
It's another story. But how you can spend how to spend locally in America? What is produced in America?
Ah, touche. Good retort. It does exist. You need to come visit. There are a lot of local mom and pop. We call them mom and pop shops. There are a lot of small businesses, and increasingly in many areas and in many sections of cities, more and more of this. But it costs more for customers most of the time. And so the temptation is to save money and go to another place. Starbucks is usually the most expensive, not always, but yeah, so everything kind of gets complicated.
It's how it works. But even if you buy, Chinese car in America, you anyway you pay salary for a seller of those cars, so it's better because his son will go to your English classes, and it's how it works.
Ah.
Sorry, colleague, can you explain again the definition of financial literacy? I didn't get it.
And it may be a concept less familiar to other countries because it's already there. In your schools, do you learn how to budget, how to figure out how much taxes is going to be taken out of your paycheck, how to think ahead and plan ahead for what your life goals are? Or do you just figure mom and dad will give me the money, or I can just spend every penny I make at work? It's not taught to our children in many, many schools. Kids go to college, kids don't work. Fewer than 40% of our teenagers work now, and that's a big change from when I was young. We all wanted jobs as soon as we could legally work. But many children are young adults, 23, 24, 25, before they ever get their first paycheck. And they have debt. They have college debt, or they may have no debt and think that life is still beautiful. I can spend for a trip, a vacation, new clothes, a car. And then 3 months later, they have $50,000 worth of debt from their $50,000 a year job, and they're in big trouble. So, this is what I mean by financial literacy at wherever you are in the economic game. Too many people in the US have no idea about saving, retirement planning, stocks. Anything about the stock market is unknown to a lot of people. And budgeting, it is crazy. My husband is a tax preparer. He sees 800 or more people's economic realities every year. And he comes home with stories that just blow my mind. There are people, many, who earn between their two paychecks, earn $300,000 or more a year. And that is enough to live comfortably in the US. Depending on your demands of lifestyle, that's more than enough to live very, very nicely. But these people pay $20,000 a year in interest on their credit cards. Now, you tell me why that's necessary. It's ridiculous. They don't realize what they're spending. They have no concept. They just, yes, buy, I want it. And then their kids, and they have nothing saved for their kids' college. So any and all of that is what I mean by financial literacy.
And surely, I believe that the credit card company is not even a little bit interested in their clients know how money they're spending.
You're absolutely right. They like collecting all these extra fees. Right? They like giving people mortgage loans when they know they are not going to be able to pay them. It's very widespread, the ignorance and lack of attention to thinking about finances. So do
But
you learn? Do all of you learn? How? How did you learn?
I think that what you what you're crying about, sorry for that, but it's even worse in the rest of the world. You know, much worse, like 10 times worse or something like this. People here just don't calculate money, just don't care. They know are they bankrupts or not, just putting hand into pocket. You know, if there no money, something wrong. If there is money, it's okay. I never met a family who can say how much we will have on the next month or something like that. No planning at all.
I just remembered my eldest son who decided to live independently from us. And after 1 month of his independent living, he said, "Oh, mom, I didn't think that toilet paper should be bought in a shop. I thought that it should be in the toilet right away when it is run out." So that's out.
So he had a hard lesson to learn right away. Yeah,
Yes.
first few weeks of shopping are quite a bit, quite involved. Yeah. But I'm surprised by Ivan's comment because
I also
this,
surprised because I know a lot of family who are playing.
ah,
Okay.
okay.
I live
And this is
in a
where
village.
individual family can, yeah. Yeah. I part of my crying and being so upset at the U.S. is what I have seen from others. In living in Korea, I've seen this, but most often from seeing immigrant families and refugee families come to the U.S. living side by side with people of the incoming people are of lower economic poverty than our poverty level native born folks. And it doesn't take long at all before families do what they need to do. They don't buy what they don't need to buy. They and here's Black Mata, yay. Just really do what they need to do to save. And it comes from many different reasons, but that's where my opinion grows, is from what I see of other cultures. Financial literacy is in a different place on a broader perspective than here. Hello, Black Mata. Happy to see you.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, yeah. Yes. So I don't know if you've been listening or if just jumping in now. So have you been listening to us or are you just
No,
joining
I
us?
have just come. No, I have just come.
Okay, so we've been talking about poverty still and different influences and how to get people more responsive out of it when they can, and all of the factors that make it in different areas. Yeah. So it's not always easy, but I am absolutely amazed at how many people are much better than I am at financial awareness and improving their circumstance. And I know I am not as strong as my husband at it, but I know I am better than many. And so this is where my base is built on my experience and exposure. Definitely agree with something someone said early in the hour, that it is different in places. There are stronger, different factors influencing the situations. Taxes, how much taxes you're able and willing to pay is definitely. Any more success stories? something you've seen or heard about that has helped an area, family, an individual climb out of poverty? Another thing we haven't talked about is minimum pay. And recently, the huge increase in part-time versus full-time work. So in the US, this means no benefits if you're part-time. So your expenses are a lot higher than if you're hired full-time, or if you're hired full-time but at a pay so low that you still can't pay your rent and your babysitter and your transportation. You're still in poverty, and which is worse, sitting home and getting a little money or working real hard and getting a little money? Ah, excellent question, Vasant. Would you like to answer for what you know of?
Yes, I hear that our government decides by uh, checking if a man can earn the money that can feed him for the entire day, so that the 3 meals a day. So if he can earn such money uh, on that day, then he's living above the poverty line. That's how our
Wow,
government defines.
interesting question.
But the funny thing is, when we define the economy of our country, we go with the individual per capita income. That is ridiculous statistics, because it calculates every richer people in India. It includes all of them, so it's nonsensical. Yeah.
Yes, and for many reasons, there's a lot more than just surviving a day. And if you had dependence, and wow, yeah. Anyone else know for their country how poverty level is determined? Yes, Black Mata.
Here we have 80% are under the line of poverty, and you can say that many people, or almost everyone in Gaza, receives donations from the UN or other societies or um, international organizations like Oxfam, or I can't remember another name. So, the situation in Gaza is different than anywhere else. So, here everyone can say that I'm poor. It's not a shame anymore.
Hmm. Wow. Yes. Yeah. And so many factors there involved in in doing anything about it. You're trapped by many different circumstances, and yet many people are surviving with some help and with some changes in culture. Yeah. So in the U.S., it's based on a family of 4, and then they go from there and take different averages, but it's averaged by your cost of housing should not be more than 30% of your income is one factor. And cost of living in a fairly broad regional area. And within that regional area, the reality of cost of living can be very different. The access to transportation and where you go to get some better cost of living prices can vary tremendously. So by the numbers, it may look like a family could survive, but the there are so many factors. So it depends on what the government calls poverty and what reality says of poverty in any given area. In the city, outside the city, makes a huge difference here, in what's available, services available. Vasant.
Yes, yesterday, a man, Raghuram Rajan, who was a former Indian former governor of Reserve Bank of India, and now he is a professor in Chicago University. He said that India's economy is growing faster, but it doesn't have one single university, the top university, top in the top 100 list. So it means that you are calculating the economy in a wrong way. How can you build an economy without having such an educational basement? Uh, so it means the top 10 percentage of people, the richer people in India, and their economy is growing faster, exponentially faster. Uh, and the richer are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. So uh, the problem occurs. Yeah, he said that point. So it was an eye-opening interview. We have to think about it.
Don't use that word exponentially. Why? Is that a tease?
It's too much, for economics. No economics on the world can grow exponentially. Just impossible.
Well, it depends on the currency you're using. It's possible. Yeah.
No, it doesn't depend. Just look at the graph of the exponentially. There is nothing can grow so much.
Interesting debate we could have there.
The graph. I posted a link.
So, what is he?
I think we can use that. So bird. Yes.
Yeah.
Comparing the richer people of India. Yes.
Okay, so what is the what you call rich people in India, rich man in India? How much he has now?
No, he has billions of dollars. Like.
Okay, so so if his wealth exponentially grow, it means that in 3 months he can buy the whole universe. There is no such many dollars, to raise no money.
We're talking continuing exponential growth. But to me, when you go from millions to billions, that's exponential growth, and that has happened.
Nope. It's not exponential. It's times. It's linear, but not exponential.
It is in my head. Okay, define exponential will make a difference.
I believe it depends on the period. It depends on the time lapse.
Yeah. If you start from $1, maybe you will have exponential growth for, I don't know, a week, and then dollars in the years will end.
Yes, until they reach a time that their earnings will become stable and they will start growing exponentially. But I think for a limited period of time, I think it's understandable.
For 2 minutes.
I take his comment to mean he agrees with us and he disagrees with you, as long as we're talking a short period of time, not a continued period. Black Mata, the poet, has a question for Raphael. Poet support here, yeah. Maybe. Yeah. So it is the numbers game, and people who, I think most of us, fall victim to that at one time or another. It is individual, but it is also influenced by so many other factors. Yeah. Basant.
Yes, have you ever wondered about the connection behind the credit cards and the thing you are buying? Because we have the EMI systems, and one journalist once mentioned that, have you ever thought about the builder, the apartment you are living in, and the EMI you are paying? What if the credit card holder is also the owner of the apartment? So and it's he is also, what if he is also the employer? So he is paying you, but you don't have the money in your hand. He is just paying you uh, in record, and he also takes it out as a rent, uh, the whatever thing you are buying. So at last, at the end of the month, you have nothing in your hand, just the pay slip. Uh, so this is the result of the globalization. The when we loosens the boundaries of uh, uh, having industries, more industries, to to a single person. How to say that? The meritocracy or something. Uh, a single person owns too much of company in different fields, then he is the boss of the country. He can do anything.
South Korea's history has concerns with this too. Recent history, the Samsung man is the ideal. And there are benefits and there are consequences. So if you don't have things enough locally, you just apply strong tariffs and get all your friendly countries upset with you. It does work long term, but creates quite a bit of hassle right now. Black Mata.
I think that you know the famous saying that rich get richer and poor get poorer. So this is the case in my country. I want to ask if this is true there in your place or not.
Everyone experiencing the same thought that it tends to be a trend, that most of the money is up here.
There is no in between, very rich
I,
or very poor. There is no in between almost.
Now that is not true here. There is a lot of in between still. The distinction is lessening. There are more top and bottom and less in between now. The middle class, some people say the middle class is disappearing. Interesting. Anyone else have comments or what they know about their area or country? Is it all rich and poor and not much in between?
I often hear this phrase. You know, it's something like mm, very. I don't see that around me. Maybe in other parts of Russia, maybe I don't see that around me. So compare current state to, I don't know, to 10 years or 5 years ago. It's not. Maybe there is some gap. Maybe it's increasing this gap, but overall level is increasing too. So it doesn't look from my perspective, but maybe it's different.
I agree with the one. I don't see the certification of the society. I see, but if it's the same that what was in the past, and we have the middle class, the poor people, and the politicians and businessmen who have a lot of money, who are very wealthy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have never experienced feeling that there was very little or no in between. That's that. Oh, we just lost Black Mata. Um, that's an interesting. I don't know what that would feel like. I don't know that.
But what I see is around me is that this level doesn't solve problem of people. What I mean, you mean many people think that we are not happy because we are poor or something like this. So give me money, let's fight with poverty and everyone will be happy. I don't see that. So what I see is that people who 10 years ago thought only about where to buy food, now they thinking about where to go on this weekend, where to fly on this summer, but they are not happy. They're not getting more happy. They still claim everyone. Because they don't want now one weekend in Paris. They want now 5 of them, and they are not happy because of that. And they claim government. I cannot afford that. You are bad guys.
Yeah, how that money is spent. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. Black Mata, apparently you sense that in your situation now in Gaza, that there is very little or no in between. I can't imagine how that feels. I'm not sure. I forget when you left and when you came back and who said what. uh, yeah. I'm trying to imagine what that would. I would think that would be awful.
Recently,
Yeah.
recently we have a conversation in our chat, and we spoke about about other cultures, and we spoke about Iraq, and I forgot who, but some lady told me that you don't need car here in Iraq. You can just get a donkey on the street and go somewhere. I was like, what, how? Free donkey? You just can get it and you don't need feed it. So that is happiness for me. I want a country with free donkeys. I don't care about money, Trump, and all those things.
Boy, that would be different, wouldn't it? I can't imagine that either. But it sounds like fun. I like imagining that. But
Yeah. I ask it many times. I ask it to clarify that. So it's really free donkey. You don't need to to pay. No, just donkey. You get it, and it's your for some time.
Maybe the concept of riches and poverty is relative among countries, and people might consider things differently. Perhaps then that's their situation. They think that is their wealth. Maybe they'd rather having a donkey better than a car. That situation, I don't know.
right? Yes, go ahead, Black Mata.
I want to tell Ivan that here there are many monkeys in the street, but they are not for free and they are not free. So don't think about grabbing a donkey and go somewhere. They will follow you. And the donkey itself knows his owner and his place. So the donkey can get back to where he sleeps or stays.
Yeah, different way of life. The things you don't often think about that can be so fascinating to experience and feel.
But I like this anecdote very much, about old man who is in his boat fishing on his lake, and there is some, white collar businessman who goes there and see, how many fishes you can get. So let's open the company. Old man asked, for what? You will hire people, they will catch fish for you, and you will be rich. Okay, I will be rich. And for what? And then you will have free time and you will do whatever you want. Okay, and what I will do? I will go there on the lake and fish my fish. So I already have everything.
Yeah, the things we think we need, or that we we are coerced by media and advertising and people in their white shirts. uh, yeah, I think many of us go through stages where we reevaluate what is important and what do we really need. But it can be, we have the expression to keep up with the Joneses. If your neighbors or your coworkers or someone has this and you don't, you want it, and then this and this and this and this, and the debt load rises. Or children who you want to do well for your kids, and the temptation to do more than you probably should is often strong for many people.
Still, I don't want to be so poor when I was in the past. I am now richer, and I'm happy with that. And I don't want to return to the past when I couldn't buy the food that I wanted. Now I can buy practically everything that I want, and I'm happy with that.
If someone will offer me to buy my 20 years old back, I would agree with all that money. I will sacrifice all that money to be 20 years old again.
No, I don't want. I'm much wiser now, and I'm happy with my age.
Hmm.
And I
Now,
so many gained. I have children. I have my family. I'm happy with my achievements at work. It's amazing. I don't want to return back.
very good point. That and so often part of the picture is when you do start climbing and it feels good. It's stronger self-worth and stronger competence, confidence, easier day-to-day life. How much or if to make yourself miserable again to help more people get there, or do you just keep going? Is the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, or those that somehow find a way to start up the ladder? If only we could nurture more of that, I think it would be kind. But there are so many times when I just don't understand why people don't do more. But then when I remember being there, it's hard. Once you start, it starts with one step. Once you start, you can usually keep some momentum. Sometimes life just keeps slapping you and slapping you and slapping you, and you lose that momentum. And then if you climb out, you really may not want to reach a hand back to help. It's a complicated, lots involved for many people. Yeah.
Okay, but don't you think that if people were more prepared in their life, in their good conditions, people would be more ready for this momentum you are referring to, this bad moments of difficulty? Don't you think that
Yeah. Why
would be
doesn't
more?
it happen more? Yeah, any thoughts on that from what you see? I see it as a teacher. I've seen how you walk into a school in a strong poverty area, and it feels different. It's so some of it's pervasive. You lose hope, and how do you get that started without jealousy, without, easy for you to help me because look what you have. Um, I don't know. I don't know where it all comes from, but I would like to find the right balance to be more of a motivator. It's like motivating adults to learn English, right? I feel like it's my job, but it's so hard sometimes. There's so much that can be part of why you are or are not learning.
But I'm afraid we are missing the main, point of our discussion. We forgot to bash Trump for something.
You don't have to. There's enough of that done. It's not helping anything. And he's just playing his game. He's very good at his game. And that wasn't my main point, truly. It was another one of those jaw drops. I keep thinking there's nothing that man can do that can shock me anymore, but he continues. And for him to visit other countries in the world and be who he is, and then come out and announce that the US has gotten rid of poverty is just absolutely absurd. And a lot of his voter base is in poverty level and experiencing poverty. So I don't know if it will hurt him or help him, but I just was amazed when he came out with that statement. That's not his plan, Black Mata. He does not want the world to be richer than him. Yes, yeah, easy to do. Yeah. We have a few minutes left. Ivan, you wanted to talk about the proper way for gentlemen to behave?
Not really. I was asking, is it legal still or not?
And do you mean legal, or do you mean acceptable by society's standards?
Is there still a difference? Yeah, I would say safe is a good word.
So I don't. You might want to post the link to your cartoon here for those that may not have seen it. The proper way for a gentleman to behave: when you seat at a table, you take off your hat. Is that still something that is done generally?
Yep, it's mandatory.
Mandatory. So it is still a strong part of Russian culture.
I don't allow my boys to have a hat during when they sit on the table. I don't allow that.
Okay. How about others? Do men take off their hats in the presence of women or when they sit at a table?
I don't usually wear hats, but I believe that would be appropriate for occasion.
So appropriate, but not an order, not a mandatory. Automatic? Is it an automatic?
Yes. As a common sense, I think that people usually take off their hats, at least here. But I don't think everyone's obliged to it.
Oh, Vasant, if they see a dead body, they'll honor the dead body.
Yes.
But in other situations in society, if you're eating your lunch or dinner, the hat can stay on?
No, they can wear it, but I see only the policemen take off their hats. So respect the dead body, the soul.
Wow. So that's still a strong automatic. Yeah. This is something that bothers me. And then I ask myself why. My husband wears baseball cap style hats a lot, and he doesn't remember to take it off. And I keep trying to come up with some signal that'll remind him without annoying him. I don't like to see hats on, but a lot of women and young girls wear hats now too. And many wear them all day long in the classroom. And it's just like the shirt. It's not something you take off when you sit down unless you want it off. So it is a changing thing. Again, class issue, and more formal situations, it is still expected that you would take your hat off. But it's fading away from being obligatory here. I have to beg my husband sometimes to take his hat off because I don't like looking at it on him if we're eating. uh, but he doesn't ask me to take my scarf off. So what's the difference? uh, Interesting perspectives and what is important, right? But you had, there were other examples. I guess it was all related to hats, but there were many examples in that cartoon Yvonne had shared. Pledging allegiance to the flag, the expectation is you take your hat off, and that may even be a law. I'm not sure. That might even be law here. But I don't remember the other examples on your cartoon. Anyone else think of what's changed in the way expected or mandatory behavior of men versus women?
I wonder that men were courteous. My husband doesn't wear any hat, even in the winter, so I don't have the same problem that you have. Ollie.
Yeah,
But of
yeah.
course, I expect that they should be gentlemen, they should be courteous. So
So it's
great.
still an expectation
Yes,
in
yes.
your life. Yeah. Yeah. It's changing in many people's realities here. And lots of reasons for that, but it is also definitely class related. I hate class status levels, but they are certainly a reality. And the expectation of being gentlemanly definitely increases the higher you go in economic status, type of hat you wear, and how often you, yeah, lots of things change, circumstance. And yet there are also a lot of wealthy people who are new wealthy and are showing disdain and purposely having casual dress and wear your blue jeans anywhere you want to. Yeah. And families that don't care. My mom, we were poor. Yeah, nouveau rich. Yeah, NOUV. Yeah, rich for sure. I forget if it's X or S, but riche. Yeah, yes, good. Good call. Anyway, we used to be, no matter how poor we were, we wore our best if we had a opportunity to attend drama production, a theater production, or go to the movies or go to a restaurant. We were expected to do our absolute best, and we knew we had to wash behind our ears and do everything to be presentable. And that is just not part of expectation anymore in many, 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 many places and families. So big changes underway. Are they positive changes or not? I'm not sure. But we're running just a little bit over. Anything else you wanted to quickly mention or toss in there, Yvonne? Or anyone? Really fun to see Black Bada and Irina come stop by, and everyone. Raphael, glad you joined us again. And I will have to change the time and day, maybe not the time, but the day of these. I have started a new part-time job and I will be working Fridays. So I need to change the date of these. I'm not sure to what yet, but I will appreciate anyone who lets me know of regular things already on a schedule that you're attending so I can try not to overlap. And I don't know how quickly I'll be able to figure out when I'm moving this to, but I will not be able to do Friday mornings anymore after today. So very nice to see you all. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.